Hey, hi, hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Eliza, and I make earrings and a lot of other things. I also just started making these videos for y'all, and thank you so much for the support we've gotten so far. I'm hoping that I'm helping, that's all. In this video today, we're going to be going over the different ways I like to texture my slabs, the ways I like to mark up my clay or cut my clay, the different types of cutters that I like to use, and a few little tips and tricks. I basically just demoed through a bunch of the products that I love using for making my slabs, and along the way I might have shown some of the things I do, and I'm going to explain them to you as I do it. So yeah, let's just hop on into it.
Alright guys, we got a ton of tools, a lot of clay, a lot. So I'm going to take you through and hopefully help you figure out what tools you might need to achieve a certain type of style slab you're wanting to make. But one thing I'm going to tell you first is we got to clean all of our tiles that we're working on, and we got to have a nice sharp blade. So if you are hoping to do any kind of anything on a tile, you need your blade to be pretty sharp so you can pick up those pieces and not scuff it up. So I am using, this is the Sculpey blade. I just take my handles off because I like having no handles. I think it kind of messes up when I'm cutting, but that in my hand is a blade sharpener. So I am just going to sharpen my blade and get it nice and ready to help pick up my clay pieces. So now we're going to talk about some tools or little items you can have that'll help you out. We got texture sheets. These are from an Etsy shop that I literally love. I'm going to link it down below. They're really affordable. And then we have a 3D printed stamp to press some texture into some clay. And then all that pile of tools I'm struggling to pick up are paint brushes and little silicone tipped brushes and little metal pokey things. They're all on my Amazon storefront. They're just like really affordable and fun ways to do simple textures in the clay. I love them. I use them a lot, but I got them out of my way so we can start working. I got all those cutters out of my way because, again, I had everything in the shot to show you. Like, we got a lot of options. Most of these are super affordable too. And we're gonna get started, and we're gonna use a texture sheet first. These texture sheets, they are so flippin' cool. They're like, I don't want to say lightweight because it doesn't matter if they were heavy, but they're like a very flexible type material, and it's thin and it just so effortless to use. So these are from a shop on Etsy called Marcella Taylor Designs. They are super affordable, and I think if you're someone making clay jewelry, these are going to pay for themselves like in one pair of earrings. So I highly recommend grabbing them, and they are so easy to use. So again, I have my tile all cleaned, and I'm just going to place the little texture sheet. So this one is like a cool rock pattern, but she has some really cool ones. I'm just taking my roller and doing a few passes over it. You don't have to be super hard or heavy-handed with this. Just a few rolls. And then look at that. That is so beautiful, simple. I love it. I love these. And when I am using these, I do recommend picking your slab off of the tile before you cut into it. You can easily pull up one little corner and then slide the whole slab off, versus if you cut and then do that, your pieces are going to be much more attached to that tile, and they're gonna just not come off as easily. I recommend lifting the slab off first whenever you do any texture to your slabs. So yeah, and then when you're reapplying it back on, make sure you really slide from one end to the other so you don't have any pockets of air in the middle. That's gonna mess up your cuts. So now let's talk about the different types of cutters that are available. There's a few different materials. There are these 3D printed or plungery style, or obviously metal ones, and there are pros and cons to both. I use both for different purposes and different types of slabs that I'm doing. I'm going to talk through the pros and cons of both and what I really like. So metal ones, they're honestly, they're sharp. To clay, metal is like a blade. It doesn't have to be a sharp blade. It's going to cut through it really well. The only con, I would say, is that little edge. So where the metal overlaps in a metal cutter, it's going to leave you a ridge on your finished pieces. This is not like a make or break. You can smooth that ridge out or sand it afterwards, but I really like plastic ones. They don't have the ridge. And then, so these plungery type ones, these are like for fondant and like baking, but obviously we can use them in clay, and it can push out the little piece of clay if it gets stuck, which that's cool. And then this one is a 3D printed one. So 3D printed ones are cool because they can be custom shapes. They can be like those funky arches or those asymmetrical, those type of shapes. You're gonna get like the coolest shapes from 3D printed ones, I would say. And a lot of clay makers actually make them. So you're gonna get something that's gonna work well for polymer clay because they're made for polymer clay. Versus those metal ones and that little fondant one, those are actually made for like baking and cookies and stuff. So one more thing I like about metal cutters is they cut pretty quick. I mean, you see I'm just going quick, press on it with the flat of my palm, and it's pretty quick. So for efficiency, these are not so bad. So again, metal cutters are gonna leave this little ridge. I don't know if you're really gonna be able to see it too much. If I can get it to focus. Yep, you see it. See that little ridge? Okay, so this is not like the end of the world. You can smooth these out, especially if you're doing a solid color like this piece is here. You can smooth this out with your fingertips. I do recommend that your hands be really clean just because of the oils in your skin. It's gonna make the clay stick to you see how I have it very lightly just on my fingertips to try and prevent getting any fingerprints on the clay itself. So I recommend washing your hands. But this trick right here, so if you work with clay, maybe you've tried this before, maybe you use this already. I mean, I didn't invent this. I'm just saying that I know some people don't really like using acetone in clay. Like it can leave like a little bit of a residue or something like that. But again, using like very light hand and just a Q-tip, and I actually will smooth the actual fibers of the Q-tip. Just do a little spin with my fingertips because again, those are fibers, so I don't want that on my clay. So I try to just tighten it up a little bit, and then I don't like coat that. I'll even see how I'm again spinning it again, just a teeny bit. And again, if I can hold it in the frame, oh, I'm gonna try and zoom out because I couldn't do that. Just a teeny bit, and again, balancing it really light so you're not getting any fingerprints or like denting your clay. I am going to take that Q-tip and just try and rub that edge. Now, this can help you eliminate sanding, especially with these solid colored pieces. You can kind of go around the whole edge and just smooth it out. Now, this will not work with every color. I'm going to tell you that. This is not going to work with every single color. For example, I don't recommend trying this with any white clay. I think that white clay should be touched as little as possible in the raw stage. And then honestly, like the darker colors, like the navies, browns, and blacks, those are the clays with the acetone. They will have like a slight discoloration. It'll look like a grayish, like white wash on it. So you can still try it. I just don't, it doesn't work the best. This works the best with these like middle tones and very light-handed, and you can smooth that little ridge and you can smooth all your edges. And honestly, there are some pieces that I do this with that I don't sand afterwards. They feel really smooth and I'm happy with them. So if you get any fingerprints while you're doing this little process of holding it with your hands, you can use a little dusting of cornstarch and it'll help smooth out fingerprints on raw clay. So that will be another lifesaver for you if you're worried about fingerprints. Alright guys, I'm gonna get you all zoomed in up close so you can see these beauties. These are my absolute favorite 3D printed cutters. I just got them about a week ago and I've been using them nonstop. I need every single shape that I use. And then these are by Goyna Studios. She's on Etsy. Her name is Ritu and she is a polymer clay artist as well. That's another pro of buying a 3D printed is they're made by, most of the time, made by polymer clay artists, and they are going to make a really good product because they're using it themselves. So I'm obsessed with these, and you really can eliminate your sanding. They don't need a lot, if any, but just smoothing out those edges before baking. These are crisp, clean pieces, and I'm so happy with them. I seriously, I've had a lot. Okay, I'm sure everybody who already does clay, you have a ton too. And you're always reaching for like the same ones and you're like, oh, it's so hard to use different shapes, but you know what you like. And so I'm very, very happy with these. I couldn't recommend them more. Next, we're gonna go over a stamp. So this is a special stamp. It's actually a new thing to me. It's a 3D printed stamp. And this is also by Goyna Studios. I've used like rubber stamps before in the past and they work. This works like a dream. It's so easy. Like 3D printed stamps, I think that these are so awesome for like simple pieces. If you're just trying to dress up like a simple colored clay, or like a one color, not like a simple color, like one color of clay, not like a pattern or a marble, which you can use this on whatever you want. But if your style is solid colors, I think this is a great tool to just give it a little extra something. And so here you see I'm using a roller to show you the difference between using your hands as the pressure or a roller. And of course there's going to be a little difference. Obviously the roller, it's a little deeper, as you see. So if you get one of these, you just gotta play around with it. I like both. I'm totally cool with both. I probably would just stick with my hand because I think there's less chance of you like going a little bit too hard with your hands versus the roller. You could probably really easily push all the way through the clay. But yeah, I love these 3D printed stamps. I'm gonna try and get some more shapes and do more with them because I think that they're really easy to use and it's a really, really cool result. So I highly recommend them. Alright guys, next we're going to talk about, while I re-roll that same color, is a textured roller. So there are different materials of them. There are wooden ones, plastic, and acrylic. The one I'm going to recommend to you, and these are a little bit pricier. I would definitely say these are like the priciest thing we're going to talk about, are acrylic textured rollers. This one I'm using, it's beautiful. I'm going to link the Etsy shop I got it from in my description. But I've used wooden and plastic and they just stick to the clay a bit too much and I'm not a fan. But it's just effortless to roll with these and I'm over the moon with it. And yeah, they're pricey, but I like to think of it, if I'm going to sell 1 or 2 earrings with it, it'll pay for itself. So that's how I get myself there with the price. But I do, again, recommend picking up the slab after you roll the texture onto it and then placing it back down just to help with the cutting process. And we're going to be using, these are a 3D printed cutter from CLN Cut. She's on Instagram and also Etsy. These are, again, also great cutters, very sharp, amazing shapes, and yeah, I really recommend these too. I know that right now she might not have any in stock, but her restocks, I mean, she always comes out with really cool shapes, so I really recommend these ones as well. Next thing we're going to be doing is some mica powder on top of a textured slab. So I'm rolling half of it and I'm going to do the texture sheet on the other half just to have some fun. I really love playing with these sheets and the rollers and powders. I think this is a really fun way to get started if maybe you're not sure where to go first with clay. These are just nice and easy and you're going to get some cool stuff. And I'm taking a highlighter. So this is a Fenty Beauty. It's the Trophy Wife highlighter. And I know you're like, why are you using makeup in general, maybe? And also, why are you using a very expensive highlighter? I got this in a subscription box, and it's just too dark for my skin tone. So I never used it on my skin. It never touched my skin. The one thing I'm going to say, guys, is you can use cosmetics in your clay. There's mica powder in them. The same mica powder when you use mica powders. So just don't use ones that you've already used before. If you're using something for crafting, only use it for crafting. Something for your face, only use it for your face. Okay? And I'm just taking a paintbrush. That is a paintbrush that's in this little value pack on Amazon. It's like, I think it's like $6 or $7, and it is just, it's like 20 brushes maybe. I'm not sure, but I get so much use out of them, and you don't need to use a fancy brush. You could even probably use your finger because you're taking a powder and smoothing on the clay. I would just recommend the brush so you have a little bit more control of the pressure. I would say it's easier. And you see how this is a really good highlighter, so it's going on and it's very, very pigmented, shiny, and all that. So, I mean, it is a plus of using like a more expensive eyeshadow or highlighter. And again, I think this highlighter is about like $30. And I know, again, that sounds like a crazy thing, but you got to remember, if you're selling 1 or 2 earrings using this, you can have it pay for itself. And then hopefully you're going to make a ton more if you use that. That powder is going to last a long time. You don't need a lot with this mica powder. But you have to remember when you're looking at supplies, if you can sell something with it and make the money back, or obviously more, it's worth the investment. That's kind of how I think. If I run out of this, I would probably buy it again for clay. And voila, peeling that off. It's very, very satisfying. Another reason I love using these sheets. But I'm gonna say, when you use mica powder and like that texture sheet where it's leaving a negative space, you want to be careful with your fingers because you can still move it around. I was not, honestly, in this video, I was not. So what I'm going to do when I take these pieces and go into like my sanding video, I'm going to try and clean them off afterwards and see if that's a possible thing. But just be more careful than I was and you will not have that problem. So one thing I want to say when you're cutting in general, and keeping in mind with the cutters you have on hand, even if you only have circles or you have a few fun shapes, whatever you have, there's still no limit to what you can do. You can cut one, take your blade, cut it in half. If you have two of the same size, which I did for my circles, or I have those irregular shapes, you can cut the bigger shape and then cut the little shape out and give yourself this cool little funky hoop, which is one of my like new favorite things. I've been really playing around with the creativity of multiple cutters and kind of using them together. So you want to be careful making sure you're getting it completely dead center, but these are irregular ones. It's not going to like ruin the piece. If you're doing like a circle or a square, you want to get it pretty even. And yeah, just don't let them limit yourself, because you can even take your X-Acto blade, which again, you're going to want that really sharp for this, and cut custom shapes. I know that there are a few makers that do pieces of like cardstock, and they'll cut their shape and then they'll hold that over the clay and cut it. So let's say you have a shape, like a funky shape, and you maybe want to change a little bit of it. You can take your X-Acto knife and modify it. Just remember that clay is limitless. It truly is. And part of why I love the medium so much is there is no end to what you can do. So taking the cutters you have, even like household objects like bottle caps and stuff like that, those can be cutters. Just there's no limit there. So go crazy. All right, so I'm gonna zoom y'all out and be really embarrassed about how messy I am and try to clean that up. But that's okay. Fun messes. That's what we're making here. That's what we're doing. I live for it. So we are gonna go back to this yellow slab here. Funky little yellow I mixed up, and that's like some scrap beige-ish color. And I'm taking these plunger style cutters again. So I mentioned in the beginning, these are for like fondant and for cake decorating. This little set is on Amazon. I mean, it's not little, okay? I started like searching for cutters when I first started. And so if you're a beginner, listen to me right now. This set is ridiculous. It's like 20 something cutters, and I ordered it thinking there's no way that there's going to be 20 cutters in there. I literally thought there's no way that's correct, because that makes no sense. But you get so many shapes. And this is what I used a lot in the beginning, is I made some fun, just simple. There's butterflies, a bunch of different flowers, there's leaves, there's all kinds of fun stuff to get you going. So do not hesitate on that. It is a real thing. I don't know why I thought it was fake. It's on Amazon, but I did think it was fake. But yeah, I'm gonna show you how I like to use these. So what we're gonna do is make like a 3D slab. And when you're using these little plunger cutters, because they have that plunger to push the piece out, and in this case these are two little flower shapes, or like that one's a circle and very, very tiny, so there's some tiny shapes. So it's gonna press a little center for you for the center of the flower, and it's also gonna push the piece of clay out. And so when you're using these plunger styles, I'm actually gonna recommend not cutting on the tile, cutting on top of some paper. So you can use like any kind of paper. I would recommend printer paper, just 'cause it's cheap. You probably have a lot of it already, or even scraps. Like, as long as there's not like a bunch of ink, I don't think it would transfer onto your clay. If there was a little bit, maybe use like the backside. But you just lay that down on top of your tile. Still, the cool temperature of the tile is going to help your clay not get too hot and sticky. But the copy paper, and it doesn't stick to the paper. So then you can utilize the function of these, which is that plunger, and press your texture, whichever texture it may give. Like I said, this set comes with leaves. The leaves have like a little leaf texture. Some of the flowers have like petal textures, and I'm literally just sticking it on there. You could do some bacon bond or like the liquid clay to make sure it sticks, but if you get a good press on there, it's good. They're not gonna fall off. And you're gonna want to smooth them out a little bit. They're not like the crazy sharpest cutters, because again, these are for fondant, which is even softer than polymer clay, I would say. And you would want to smooth them out a little bit with your fingers, or again, you can take a Q-tip with some acetone and smooth down the edges just a little bit. But yeah, I do it at the end. Just I think it's much easier. And I was just doing this really quickly. I don't do this type of like slab really anymore. I really liked how this turned out. I'm probably going to do more of it. But one thing I'll say is I would try and play around with the thickness, either doing the flowers thinner than normal or your back piece thinner, a little bit thinner than normal. You want to play around with it. And one thing I'm going to recommend too is using all the same color to practice this type of technique, because if you don't like it and you mix it all up, you know, you might get a color you don't like, or using like complementary colors. Like if I would have mixed all those 3 colors, I probably would have gotten a pretty color that I liked. But yeah, I would recommend practicing with a solid color at first. And there it is. So again, I took the acetone and tried to just smooth out any edges or whatever happened along the way. And I don't do this style of slab very often, but I loved how this turned out. I'm going to play around with it more. I'm not going to cover the whole thing just because I'm only cutting 2 pieces and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to cut there. I decided I wanted to do the same color as the base and do a little cute center on all of them. So I'm just going to roll up a little ball and pop it in the center. So if you want to do flowers or any kind of like small dotting texture, I'm going to recommend these tools to you. I got these again in another big kit on Amazon. These are like silicone tip brushes, and then some of them have a double end where the other side has a little like metal pokey bit. I wish I could tell you like a good term for them. I don't know. They're going to have like some ball ends that are like all completely rounded. This one is the one I would say I use the most. It's slightly pointed, so you can really get up close. I tried to pick it up. I tried to bring you in closer, and then I tried picking up the slab. I'm so sorry. I didn't know how to really get up and close and show you how I do this, so I'm trying my best. I'm just trying to poke it. Very light but firm pressure, and I know that makes absolutely no sense. That's why I'm saying to play around with this with solid, all the same color. You have to find that perfect pressure that presses into it to give you the divot you want, but not too much. But you could also just do one solid dot in them. I like doing a lot of little dots for my little flower centers. Some people just do like one big dot. There's tons of different ways you can do these flowers, and I really love these tools. I use these a ton. Some of them are like so gross, you probably saw when I was holding them all up. Some of them are just covered in all kinds of gunk. I just call them very well loved. That's all. Real quick, another cool thing I actually really love doing with this type, and it makes it so you don't have to do it too perfect, is if you do these 3D effects and then you roll it with your pasta machine, you can make these like really cool looking. They almost look like fabric. If you see right there, I love that. I think that is so cool. The only word I can think of is groovy. I don't know. I just want to call it a groovy slab. But that's another thing you can do is flatten these out. Alright guys, here's another like simple way to do some texture. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the blunt side of my blade. Be really careful with this. Obviously you're gonna have that sharp side pointing up. You could also use like a credit card. I just like the way this the metal works on it. I'm just taking it and doing again a very like light but firm pressure and doing these cool lines. This works really well with this cool deco shape. But you could do this to, of course, anything to get some straight lines. Really simple. Another way we can do some lines is using this really cool tool. So this also comes in that little pack that had the silicone brushes and the little like metal ended things. It's like a value pack on Amazon. It has these lines on one end, if I can get it to focus, has these lines, and then the other end has like a ball. So the way you use it is you place it on the clay, half on the clay, half on your table, and you roll with it with the ball. And obviously you're gonna get straight lines with this. The only thing I'm going to say is you want to play around with it to get the texture right. I'm not going to say I'm perfect at it, but, you know, it's a cool little tool.
Alright guys, so we are going to take these earrings along the journey of baking and sanding and assembling, all that good stuff. That's going to be future videos, but we just got to start off with the actual components. And yeah, we made some fun different stuff together today. If you're someone who's not sure what kind of style you want to make, I think that seeing these examples might help you know like what to get started. Ooh. I can show you. I can't show you.
All right, let me show you this way so it's a little bit easier. Yeah, if you guys want to grab any of the stuff that I use in this video, I'm going to link it down below, the Etsy's and also my Amazon storefront. If you check out from there, I will get a small percentage. It's nothing crazy, but I do appreciate if you do use my link. And in the meantime, tag me if you try any of this stuff. And you know, I would love to see it. I think that some of the stuff is staples that everyone needs if you don't already have it. And yeah, I can't wait to do the next part, so bye!
Thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you real soon.